something else going on the radical right that I think is so interesting. The MAGA Republicans are in the middle of a vicious fight, and it's one that's been coming for 50 years. Tucker Carlson, you probably remember from the Fox News Channel, right-wing webcaster now, who has always shown a very close affinity for Viktor Orban in Hungary and also for Vladimir Putin in Russia, gave an interview of more than 2 hours to a man named Nick Fuentes. Fuentes was a right-winger who spent a little bit of time at Boston University and then got kicked out of sort of the more establishment figure based party events because he showed up at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in August of 2017, where they shouted really anti-Semitic and racist, sort of Nazi adjacent and sometimes straight Nazi slogans. They were called the alt-right then and neo-Nazis. He went off and began having his own webcast and started to pull together a bunch of people who became known as Groypers. And they attacked the establishment from the right. And he has admired Hitler. He has denied the Holocaust. He is virulently anti-Semitic and racist and sexist. I mean, he's the whole kettle, right? And they've really been trying to keep him aside. And one of the things that he did when Charlie Kirk was alive, and Charlie Kirk was the guy who started Turning Point USA, which was a right-wing organization for college students, but was much more establishment. He attacked Kirk constantly, partly for attention, but partly from the right. And he, when Kirk was killed, it wasn't really clear who was going to pick up Kirk's followers. And what appears to be happening is that Fuentes has started to pick up that right-wing youth movement. And Tucker Carlson appears to have seen that and decided he was going to get in on that. And he platformed Fuentes. Fuentes is now at a big story in the New York Times. But here's the issue. Fuentes is openly embracing Adolf Hitler, Nazi imagery, the whole thing. And at the same time, you're starting to see the sort of open embrace of Hitler and Nazi imagery and Nazi language in younger Republicans. Remember last month, I think it was, the young Republicans from 4 states, works, their chat was exposed, and it was really horrific stuff, including admiration for Hitler and jokes about gas chambers and things, all that. Anyway, when all this came out, the leader of the Federalist Society, which was always sort of the heart of movement conservatism in the 1980s, sort of defended this whole Tucker Carlson for doing this. And he too, his name is Kevin Roberts, he's the key guy behind Project 2025, and he's a real admirer of Viktor Orban as well. So when that happened, a lot of sort of more establishment Republicans who had put up with the rise of this far right and with Trump as a leader of this far right looked at this and they're like, we can't go full Nazi. We just can't go full Nazi. So they started turning on that group of people who were starting to form around or starting to slide even further right toward the Groypers. And they're saying, we can't go there. That included Mitch McConnell, for example, who's 83 years old and is going to be leaving the Senate in 2027. And a lot of those people who were willing to go along with Trump and the Groypers and everybody else, so long as it meant they could stay in power, and are now recognizing they have lost control of the movement. It's going all this way to the alt-right, to the neo-Nazis, to the anti-Semites, to the whole thing. They're what's going on now. This is really an interesting moment because what this is doing is it is forcing people to choose. And this brings me to the last question that you asked, and that was about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a representative from Georgia. You know her as a real flamethrower. She was fervently MAGA. You name it, she's there. She was one of the people who didn't believe Sandy Hook happened. She used to attack David Hogg, when he was just a kid for, being a crisis actor, all this kind of stuff. But she has a very keen vision for where things are going. And as I say, they're really unsettled. They're unsettled in both parties. But right now, the real focus, of me today, although I'm happy to talk about the Democrats as well, the real focus here is on the Republicans. And by the way, that interest is not because I'm not interested in the Democrats, but right now, the Republicans is where the power is. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been fascinating because she is not backing away from MAGA. What she's doing is she is giving MAGA an off-ramp by today, for example, appearing on The View, which is a TV show that is a very highly watched TV show that is a talk show of women, older women, and saying that they asked her about her views about QAnon, which is also one of the ways she came to power, and if she had changed, because she said she doesn't believe that stuff anymore. And she said, no, I haven't changed at all. I was just misled by social media and the stuff I read online, just like you have been. Fascinating, because that's an off-ramp. That says, no, I wasn't an idiot. I just read the wrong stuff, which honestly on social media, it's easy to do. She's also embracing really popular stuff. As I say, the release of the Epstein files is really popular. Like Republicans and Democrats both want that. You know what else both Republicans and Democrats want? Healthcare. She's picking up on these issues. At the same time, and I will nod here to the Democrats, younger Democrats are doing the same thing. And I'm looking at this and I don't know. I cannot predict the future. But choppiness of politics in this moment is one in which definitely things are falling apart. How they get put back together remains entirely unclear. Yeah, maybe the neo-Nazis will win, but maybe enough Americans will say, no, I don't want to be part of a neo-Nazi movement, as they have always done in the past, by the way. And they would rather create a government that actually answers the things that we say we want. Remember, I keep saying to you, articulate what we want, articulate what we want. This is why. Because people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and by the way, I am not at all advocating everybody forget her past or anything else, but watch what these people who want to be reelected do. What you are not seeing from her is her throwing her arms around Donald Trump and saying, I'm your girl. That is over. You're seeing that from Mike Johnson, but you're not seeing it from her. And watching the way people are behaving in this moment is instructive about where they are guessing the country is going. Trump is panicked. He's madly tweeting. Mind you, he's stressed. And I'm not even going to go into that interview with CBS, but you're not seeing that kind of panic from the Democrats. And you're not seeing that kind of panic, political panic. I mean, they're very concerned about their constituents, but you're not seeing that kind of panic from people like Mamdani in New York, or, Gavin Newsom in California, or J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, who's frantic about what's happening in his city. But you're not seeing that sort of mad clawing that you saw with whichever Cuomo it is running for office in New York, where he's throwing everything at the wall, trying to say, if you don't elect me, the whole world's going to fall apart. Just the way Trump is saying similarly, elect Mamdani and the whole world is going to end. I'm never going to give any money to New York. Of course he can't do that. That's totally illegal. He'll try it anyway. It'll be challenged in the courts. But in this moment, before you worry about all the noise, look at who's panicking and who is not.
I don't know. It's lost its edge, right? Like MAGA's over. You just know it's over. It's just over. And I say this, by the way, and I'm always very honest with you about how people are behind the scenes. Eric and Laura have always been unbelievably kind to me. I have nothing bad to say about them as human beings. Laura works very hard. And Eric, by the way, works very hard, running the Trump organization, certainly while his father has to go and be president and take over. But they know they're not telling the truth, right? They know they're not telling the truth. The kids are now awake. They know about Jared and his deals with Ivanka in the Middle East and how much money they're set to make. And, Gaza being destroyed is actually beneficial to their bank accounts. It just is. And to think these kids, and the fact that he was ready to answer about the nuclear, that's always the threat of the nuclear. And that used to work. Like Generation 9/11, that worked. It doesn't work anymore because we realize there's only one nation that isn't following any rules. There's only one nation that isn't respecting America. There's only one nation that generations of American children, American men are being told they have to die for in foreign lands. So at the benefit of what nation? Not America. If America, throughout all these wars, was not in a steep decline, and actually we walked around and our streets were clean and we didn't have any homelessness and people were not on drugs, we probably would go, okay, like we're up to no good in the Middle East, but at least look at this country. It's shining. It's amazing. What's our upside? Our upside is we get lectured and told that we're not even allowed to bring up Israel on college campuses or risk being arrested. getting stricter on anti-Semitism laws. Now you're coming in for our speech, and you thought that this generation was going to get behind it because what? Bibi bought TikTok? The hypocrisy is astounding, and you can't survive hypocrisy. So unfortunately, I think 4 years ago, everyone thought, who's going to be the next Trump family member that's going to get into politics and galvanize the youth movement? It's done. Dead on arrival now. And it's because you guys went for broke on Israel. So, you know, whatever the real estate plan is in Gaza, that's going to be the Trump legacy, I suppose. And to be honest, that wouldn't be the legacy that I'd want to have, because people are not going to forget what happened there. Your children's children are probably going to feel ashamed, to be honest with you, that you were involved in it and that you defended it, or that you stayed quiet about it because of money. People are paying you to do those things.
Charlie's voice is not silent. We're going to pick up that bloodstained microphone where Charlie left it. And to those who would intimidate, who would seek to stop us, who would seek to end free discussion, who believe that they have ownership over public spaces and can violently threaten and kill people who speak freely, we are not going to stop. And I have 2 words. F*** you.
When it is just a fact that Ben Shapiro did a lot of things behind the scenes to stop the rise of Charlie Kirk. It's a fact, okay? Here's another text message. I have literal hundreds of them pertaining to Ben sending his YAF boys, the YAF boys, the National Review peeps that were coming after us, writing articles. The one that I showed in this little, our thumbnail here, we can show this conversation. It was a headline. Ben Shapiro's YAF launches smear campaign against Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. Hey, Charlie, wherever you are, it's happening again. It's just a smear campaign. I don't know why, but this is what Ben does. And it is also interesting that when I was telling you that Ben called Charlie and he was lamenting the fact that Charlie and I had this friendship and warning him that he shouldn't have him, Charlie felt like Ben was like throwing down like slave owner vibes. And he was just like, he thinks I like own you or something, but I'm going to show you the text messages because otherwise you'll say it didn't happen. Here we go. This was, again, everything. Ben was going on people's shows and talking down about me and Charlie. And he said, you're bigger than Ben now. I'm walking into the White House yesterday. I realized that. I said, I know. He hates it. And he said, we just have to treat him like noise. He wants you to punch down to him. His respect amongst movement fighters is quite low. I feel like that's relevant right now to what Ben's doing. He wants to egg on this fight because he's lost a certain bit of respect. And then Charlie goes on, you got in his head, which is terrific. The Ben thing involves me more than he wants to admit. And then we went on, and this is the same conversation. He knows that Jon Snow, he's using a Game of Thrones reference, is stronger as the dragons fly higher. And he said it pisses him off. And he is sending his incestuous brother to go try and kill us. It's worse. He views you as my slave, 100%. Control her is what he really was saying to me when he called. So this has been, and by the way, like I said, I have hundreds of these messages. And so you have to imagine being in my position when you see someone who did everything he could to kind of stop the rise of Charlie Kirk, now trying to struggle session Meghan, who was actually a very good friend to Charlie. Charlie deeply respected her. And towards the end, obviously, she took a very principled position on telling the truth about what he was going through. And Charlie dies, and suddenly he's like, I care about this evil that could be happening. Candace is investigating who killed her friend, and she shouldn't be doing that. I mean, there's no way to spin it. What is his suggestion here? That me asking questions about Turning Point USA somehow means that I'm blaming Erica, who wasn't even working for Turning Point USA when Charlie died, because now she's the CEO? Of course he doesn't believe that. And it is just, to me, it is truly so gross to do this to a person that you know you tried to block. And you just, now that he's dead, I guess you want to sort of rewrite history. That's what you're trying to rewrite history and pretend that you're his ardent defender.
In a business where people comment on what we say publicly, again, this is why I think you and I differ on our angle with regard to, for example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I don't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. Yes.
It's just, I don't even know how to respond to it because it just never happened. It's so crazy. He's not even anywhere near what's happened. Anybody who's watched this show, I actually was getting flack from my audience for not covering Erica's past or speaking about her parents. I said she gave one of the most consequential speeches, and I have focused my investigation on Turning Point USA and why they're telling certain lies. Seth Dillon, I told the truth that Seth Dillon lied about the Hamptons meeting and that he was pressuring Charlie about the topic of Israel. I never once accused Seth Dillon of murdering Charlie Kirk. So what's he actually doing here, right? Obviously, there's a lot of layers that we should peel back, and it's important that we do it. The least interesting part of this is the fact that he's lying through his teeth. That's implied he's a Zionist. The stunning hypocrisy again, okay, of him picking the topic of Charlie Kirk to pretend that he's noble when it is just a fact that Ben Shapiro did a lot of things behind the scenes to stop the rise of Charlie Kirk. It's a fact, okay? Here's another text message. I have literal hundreds of them pertaining to Ben. Yeah, it was a headline. Ben Shapiro's YAF launches smear campaign against Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. Hey, Charlie, wherever you are, it's happening again. You're bigger than Ben now. I'm walking into the White House yesterday. I realized that. I said, I know, he hates it. And he said, we just have to treat him like noise. He wants you to punch down to him. His respect amongst movement fighters is quite low. You got in his head, which is terrific. The Ben thing involves me more than he wants to admit. He knows that Jon Snow, he's using a Game of Thrones reference, is stronger as the dragons fly higher. And he said it pisses him off. And he is sending his incestuous brother to go try and kill us. It's worse. He views you as my slave, 100%. Control her is what he really was saying to me when he called. To me, it is truly so gross to do this to a person that you know you tried to block. And you just, now that he's dead, I guess you want to sort of rewrite history. That's what you're trying to rewrite history and pretend that you're his ardent defender. Done with Israel. He knew, and others knew, that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him, and I am now going to present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
I gotta be careful the way I say this. 2, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged through the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel is on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is. Yeah. And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools of decoupling to do? Because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more, draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. We put them in power. We displaced the Shah. We displaced the democratically elected leader Mossadegh and put in the Shah, which then of course led to the Ayatollahs of Iran. And then finally, is a nuclear weapon against Iran a threat to America? Probably, could be a threat to Israel, but is it a threat to America? I mean, India has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. So is it worth a potential another war with Iran? And the people that are, let's just say, advocates for preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon by all means necessary, they're the same architects that were perfectly fine with the Iraq war, the same designers of the Iraq war. The primary way Iran can hurt this country is by sucking us into another Middle East quagmire, and they know it. And Iran would have the potential to be the worst Middle East quagmire of all time. Iran has 90 million people. That's more than 3 times as big as Iraq was when we invaded 22 years ago. It's larger than both Afghanistan and Iraq combined, both in population and in area. Iraq was at least mostly a flat country. It's a bunch of cities along a couple rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Iran isn't like that. It's almost all mountains. Iran has spent decades preparing specifically for war with the United States. Their military has lots of weapons designed for fighting a much stronger adversary. They have a lot of drones, a lot of speedboats, a lot of cheap, expendable weapons. They're far more formidable than Iraq or the Taliban were. And I seriously want your thoughts. Email me freedom@charliekirk.com. Would you say it's a good idea to use military force to strike potential Iranian nuclear targets? My whole life, I've been told that Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a nuclear bomb. And yet here in 2025, they do not have a nuclear bomb. So why should we trust the American intelligence without verifying it? Of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan, Leon Kaufman. Can we get that full list? It's very powerful. The part of the so that's totally true. And by the way, Tucker Carlson reinforces this. So I'm going to kind of, it was quite a day on the internet. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens coming up next hour, and Tucker Carlson mentions that Jewish Americans have primarily been financing cultural Marxist ideas. We said this, by the way, last week, and people came after us. We actually said it in a different way. We said, I'm glad that Jewish Americans are reconsidering their financing of cultural Marxism. And people misunderstood it intentionally and slandered us as being anti-Semites. But listen to this. Tucker Carlson is completely correct by saying this, that the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country.
Listen to Bibi's response, because prepare yourself. What he is saying is that they are about to launch a psychological war on Americans. Take a listen to what he says.
Christian influencers. Okay. You said, you talked about the woke right. And you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich. Because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're loonies. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well, okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are in social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok. Number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. That's very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends or those who could be our Jewish our friends. Are we going to succeed with everyone? No. Will there be a strong counterpoint? Yes.
Okay, so we're allowed to say Israel controls the media now. Okay, I think that's just on camera. Now there will be no dispute about this.
Israel is the only country I know of that has some sort of incredible influence and control over nearly every single one of my colleagues. And it is I don't know how to explain it.
No one wants to feel like their position has been bought and paid for, but these politicians, they have. And so I can see why AIPAC would get mad if these politicians then turned on them and didn't support. It's like, what did my 3,800 times 3 get me if you're not going to vote for my issues?
Exactly, because AIPAC are Americans, therefore they can legally donate to members of Congress and senators. So let's talk about how that works. AIPAC takes every single that they can, freshman member of Congress or first year in Congress, they take them on a very special trip to Israel in August. August is our recess. It's our month-long district work period. That's
Dems and Republicans or just Republicans?
They take both of them. Yes. And they invite pretty much everyone, to my knowledge. So they take them on this trip to Israel. I guess they go on tours all around. I didn't go, so I don't know what they do there. But they take them on tours, like the pictures we've seen recently of the speaker and other members of Congress at the Wailing Wall.
To become president of the United States, you must travel to Israel, visit the Western Wall, don the hat, and pay homage. You must also speak before AIPAC and promise what you will use your position for in order to help Israel. All presidents must do this.
Here's what else they do. AIPAC takes influencers. They take really big people like you. They want you to come over there. They want to pull you in because they want to pull you on their side. And why is that? Okay, for members of Congress, every single year, annually, Israel receives, and we have to vote on it. It's a yes or no vote, $3.8 billion in funding for Israel. Now, what does that money mean? Well, they'll say, "Oh, well, this is for Israel. It's them to be able to defend themselves. They're the only democracy in the Middle East. Yep. They're constantly under attack. They're surrounded by their enemies who wants to annihilate them."
That's all true.
Sure, we're not arguing those points. However, let's flip over and look at, what does this mean? Number one, Israel is doing so well with their economy, and I'm excited for them. This is a big deal. I wish we were doing this good. We're $37 trillion in debt. Israel is less than $400 billion in debt. Less than. If you're an Israeli citizen, you have government-funded health care, and you have government-funded college. So why is America having to give Israel $3.8 billion?
AIPAC attacking you, sending out fundraising emails.
AIPAC, you know what? You can bring it on. I am totally ready for this. And this is a fight that I will fight and I will give it my all. And I can guarantee you, you're going to lose because America is fed up, Matt. They're fed up to here with funding foreign wars, funding foreign causes, funding foreign countries, while Americans work their ass off every day and pay their taxes and come home and they're living paycheck to paycheck and their credit cards are maxed out. I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care. So I'll burn this bridge to the ground and I will let the flames light the way, and because this is a fight that needs to happen.
If we were still in Congress, I would just say I associate myself with the comments of the gentlelady from Georgia, because everything you said there is factual.
People don't know this, but the Muslim world didn't hate America until after Israel was created. The United States actually had good relations with the Arab Muslim world. The United States was considered different than Europe, because the Muslims considered Europe the Crusaders, the New Rome, the Christians, but they didn't feel that way about the United States. The reason the Arab Muslims have a problem with us is not because of our freedom or because we're Christian. It's because of our unconditional support for Israel.
America is Israel, and Israel is America. Israel is the 51st state of America. The Mossad is the CIA. The CIA is the Mossad. If you don't believe the extent to which these two countries have merged, then take a look at that Wailing Wall picture from this afternoon, where Marco Rubio, supposedly in Israel to read the riot act about the attack on Qatar, about which more in a minute. Huckabee, Rubio, and Netanyahu, all of them kippered up, kissing that wall again. The abasement of the United States political class to the iconography of Israel, the never-ending subvention of money and material between the United States and Israel has effectively erased any difference that there is in these two states.
So where does that leave you ideologically? Like, how are you changing at this point?
So at this point, I'm realizing that something is deeply wrong here in the conservative movement, because we were led to believe in those days of the campus culture wars and Gamergate and all that, is that we're the marketplace of ideas and we're about free speech and the rest of it. And here I am being nuked from orbit by Ben Shapiro as a kid, and for asking what I thought were reasonable questions. Because I didn't come from some strange background. I come from a normal home. My parents are Catholic, they're married. We came from a relatively affluent suburb. I went to Lyons Township. That's a very affluent high school. In other words, I didn't wake up as the son of, William Luther Pierce. I wasn't a skinhead or something. I was a normal guy that was country's too diverse. We're too pro-Israel. This is reasonable. And I was just getting sandbagged for it and blacklisted. And what's more, nobody cared. Because I remember going on Twitter and saying, why isn't anyone sticking up for me? Where's Dave Rubin? The free speech warrior. Where's he on this one? Where's Shapiro? Where's all the...
It goes on. It goes on.
I mean, I would hate for people to believe that the Nick Fuentes sort of, my problems with Nick Fuentes are about me, because they really are not. They are about the fact that Nick Fuentes is a truly horrifying person who believes truly horrifying things. I mean, again, there is a reason why Charlie Kirk despised him. There's a reason why every mainstream political commentator has been highly critical of him. It's the reason why these are not arguments. This is not a person who's making arguments. He is a Hitler-loving troll, and I say that advisedly. He literally says on his show that he loves Adolf Hitler. Okay, so the reason this has come up in recent weeks is because Tucker, your guest last night, decided to have him on last week and to completely gloss him, in my opinion. And you can make up your own opinion as to what you think Tucker was doing during that interview, but I know what it looks like when Tucker Carlson decides to be an aggressive interviewer, when he decides to ask difficult questions of people. Tucker is eminently capable of doing that. He did it to Ted Cruz quite thoroughly. But he decided, for any number of reasons, and I try not to attribute motivations to people, that he was going to treat Fuentes with kid gloves, that he was going to not ask him about any of the things that I've just mentioned, literally any of them, and to essentially normalize Fuentes, act as a sort of gateway drug, or as what I've called Tucker, as an ideological launderer of bad ideas over the last couple of years. And this is not coming from a place of animus for Tucker on a personal level. I've known Tucker for a very long time. Tucker and I, whenever we're in personal situations, we get along great. I think I saw that Tucker talked about how we were at Charlie's memorial in the vice president's box together, and he's correct. I mean, we saw each other, we said hello, we talked, it was very friendly, and all of that. And it's also true that a couple of days after Charlie's murder, he reached out and he called me and he said, listen, I know that we're at odds, and we've been at odds for a number of reasons, mainly political. I mean, again, On a personal level, I'd go fishing with Tucker anytime. The real question is, for me, I got into this business because I care about the ideas and I care about the ideals. And so when you're determining what is conservatism, what should the future of America look like, and where do you draw the lines, those are the questions that I need to answer in my job. For me, my business is really not about friendship. I have lots of friends, people who I love, with whom I disagree on politics and don't believe they should be leaders in the conservative movement, for example. And that to me is the real question. In any case, Tucker reached out. He said, we've had a bunch of disagreements, and, what if we could put those aside and align toward the DSA in particular, is what he mentioned. And I said,
One, I do believe that he is actually scared of Nick Fuentes, okay? I think that fear comes from guilt. Nick's backstory, don't care what you think about him, you already know I don't like Nick Fuentes because of how he treated me. But the backstory is compelling. I learned the backstory listening to Jeremy Boring, the former CEO of Daily Wire, sit down with Nick. So right after I'd been fired, and I didn't know what Ben and Jeremy admitted that they did to him. And so I think if you artificially push somebody out of the market, and Ben has never come out and denied anything that Nick Fuentes has said. Also, Jeremy Boring didn't deny it in a conversation with him. So we have to assume the story is true. And given what I know about what happens now, I think, and what Charlie was going through, I think we can all realize that Nick was an 18-year-old kid, like he told Tucker, and now the whole world knows this story. He started asking questions about Israel, and he got artificially pushed out of the market when he had his whole life ahead of him, okay? And now, when they did this because they wanted to rid themselves of Nick Fuentes, who then became angry about it and definitively has said very offensive things on the internet, but also he was 18, 19 years old. Now you see him on Tucker Carlson. You don't like Tucker Carlson. And I think it makes him uncomfortable. I think we're in Harry Potter, right? And Lord Voldemort thought he killed the baby, and the baby may be lit. I don't even know who the Dark Lord is in this story, but I do know. I don't even know who he who must not be named is in this story, but I do know that with Ben and Nick Fuentes, it's kind of a neither can live while the other survives, and Nick Fuentes seems to have survived, okay? Without advertisers, without sponsors, without connections, with the entire media writing things about him, being put on the ADL's list, he has proven to be quite resilient. And it is in large part due to how hard they fight him that people become curious. It's like, we're watching kids be bombed. Like, how many people have lost their lives in Gaza? And you're telling me the greatest evil is Nick Fuentes? I'm sorry. I think I can survive Nick Fuentes insulting me. I don't feel the need to wheel and deal behind the scenes or, tell Tucker not to host. I just don't care. It's just really not my business. I'm like Megan. I just don't care. Like, okay, if somebody wants to be a fan, they can be a fan of Nick Fuentes. And I sense an insecurity here in the fact that 10 years on from when Ben had this thing that happened to Nick Fuentes that he tells a story about, now Nick Fuentes is still here and Ben's influence is waning. It just factually is.
I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, "To accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism." And this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So I'm driving to Christmas Eve Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite. And I was like, what is this? Why is this guy attacking me? Because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel. And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, how does he even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you know, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy. And he goes, I'll take a look. And so I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire, or maybe looking me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to me, and the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them and from a lot of the people at Daily Wire. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down. We'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
while you're a college student?
Yes. As a freshman, yeah.
So looking back with that 2020 hindsight, I mean, Ben Shapiro seems like a big part of your political evolution.
Yes.
You went from a fan / acolyte to an opponent and then just pivoted against everything.
Yeah.
That he believes.
Yeah. It was because it was this new dialectic that Trump forced.
Yeah.
Trump planted the seed.
And the seed was America first.
Yes.
So once you accept that, a lot of the way we're doing things becomes impossible to support or justify.
Right. The contradiction becomes apparent. It gets moved to the center and it becomes unignorable if you're consistent.
So what kind of efforts did they make to make you go away?
So this is a couple of months down the line. You know, first they would try to dissuade me from asking questions because I was friends with a lot of the Daily Wire writers, not just Cassie Dillon, but many of them were Jewish. And I would ask them point blank. I would say, so why do we give Israel all this money? $3.8 billion per year? What is that for? And they would say, well, you know, there's a really good answer for that, but you're asking it in the wrong way. You're asking it in an anti-Semitic way. I'd say, I'm asking for the proof. You know, what's the argument there? And so first it was this sort of, hey man, could you kind of tone it down? Maybe just don't bring that up so much. But I was persistent because at this time I was genuinely inquisitive. I wanted to know, is there an actual reason? And I was actually expecting that there was a really good reason for all of it. And the more that I read, the more that I dug into the subject, the more I found out there's a lot of these neocon Jewish types behind the Iraq war. There's the foreign aid complex, which is really unique. There's AIPAC, which is this intense foreign lobby where it's bipartisan. It seems to be the only thing that the parties can agree on. And so it just made me burn more with curiosity. So I just kept asking them. And eventually they said, you know what? We're not going to talk to you anymore. And these are my friends. I met them, went to Christmas parties with them. And all of them one day said, you're done. We're blocking you. We're never going to speak to you again. We're never going to have you on our show.
There are journalists that work for Reuters and the Associated Press being murdered by Israel. They don't want the world to know what they're doing. Where's America on this? Where's Trump on this one? Where's the Christians on this one? It's disgusting. This is what our country is supporting. Israel murdered 4 Western journalists in the city of Khan Yunis in Gaza. And the story gets worse than that. They kill 4 journalists. Why? Because the journalists are covering the famine and the genocide in Gaza. Where? They killed them at a hospital where people are being treated for their injuries. What happened? Israel bombed the hospital twice. Once to hit their targets and then a second time to get anybody they didn't kill and anybody that came in as first responders. A deliberate policy called a double tap. The reason they do the attack is because they're committing a genocide. Murdering women and children, starving them to death, destroying hospitals and schools and infrastructure. It is only thanks to Western journalists that we know any of this. Israel is systematically killing them because they do not want the world to know what is happening. They do not want the world to know that they are starving 2 million people to death. They do not want the world to know that out of all the casualties in the past few weeks, 70% of them are women and children. So they're engaged in a systematic murder of journalists because they're engaged in a systematic ethnic cleansing and starvation of 2 million innocent people. And by the way, if any other country was doing this, there would be sanctions, there would be international outcry, we would summon the ambassador from that country.
Didn't really even think that America's becoming majority minority like that.
Wait, so you were radicalized on race by Mark Levin?
Yes.
Are you making that up? Or that's
a real story.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. He planted the seed at least. And then I saw a graphic on 4chan or Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen something similar. It said, this is what the map looks like, the electoral map. If only men vote, if only women vote, if only whites vote, if only non-whites vote. And it became very obvious what the electoral problem is. It's demographics. These immigrants are coming here. They're going to turn Texas blue like they turned California blue.
Yeah, I saw it happen.
Yeah, and you look at even the opinion polls. These people don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in the Constitution, the Second Amendment. As a libertarian, the things that are, and as American, things that are important to you, they don't believe, they don't understand these things. And so I said, that's another political obstacle. You've got the media, you've got immigration. So I'm thinking like, well, we're going to vote for Ted Cruz. He's going to be the constitutionalist. We'll vote for Rand Paul. He'll be the libertarian. But what stands in the way of political power for us? It's the media.
So I watched the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes interview, and here's my biggest takeaways I think you guys should know. Nick started watching a lot of like mainstream political commentary, such as like PragerU, Mark Levin, and I myself resonate with that quite a bit. I used to watch a lot of PragerU back in the day. Nick started out as a Ron Paul kind of libertarian type of guy, but as many former libertarians, including myself, kind of realized that classical liberalism as an ideology always sounds good. It starts out pretty good, but then it kind of turns into leftism and crony capitalism. At the beginning of Nick's career, he started talking about the AIPAC lobby and the overwhelming power that AIPAC has over our government. But soon he got expelled from the conservative movement just for questioning why another foreign country has power over our government. One of the biggest things that I got from that interview is that Tucker said that there's no one on the earth more that he dislikes than a Christian Zionist because they're complete heterics to Christianity, and I completely agree with him.
I'm here for a reason, to show support to you, my good friend. I'm here also to take on a formal blood libel in 2024, that the state of Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war.
Is that his job as a U.S. Senator? To be a PR shill for a foreign prime minister? Not even really the nation. Another politician who's not an American? What the hell is going on? He is there to refute the blood libel that Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. Now, who would say that? Well, Israeli cabinet ministers. And they have said, yeah, starve them out. Starve them out. Kill them. I mean, they're all the same. They're Palestinians. Their crime is their genetics. And when they die, it's just a virtuous thing because they're not human. But Lindsey Graham is telling us that's a blood libel? Why are you telling me that? I have internet access. Because you're a liar.
Lindsey Graham gave quite the speech to the Republican Jewish coalition. And you tell me if you think he's a little wasted.
So I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism.
That was quite the transition from killing all the right people to your shared Christian and Jewish values. But things did get a little weirder.
But I just want to make it really clear, I'm in the Hitler sucks wing of the Republican Party. What is this Hitler shit? I don't know. Anyway, here's what I do know. You can sit in a basement with weird people and say weird things. It's a free country, right?
First, I think it's good that Lindsey acknowledged there is a wing of the Republican Party that is not the Hitler sucks wing of the Republican Party. That is quite the omission, if I have to say so myself. And I think that's been clear for some time after Charlottesville, after Trump dining with Nick Fuentes, after telling the Proud Boys to stand by. I think it's pretty clear now that Tucker Carlson, the most popular conservative podcaster, had Nick Fuentes on his podcast, that the not Hitler sucks wing of the Republican Party appears to be the ascendant group at the core of the MAGA movement. And I think Lindsey Graham is a little bit behind the times about what is happening in the right-wing sphere of American politics.
Senator Lindsey Graham recently said to an audience at the Republican Jewish Coalition that we're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. A sitting senator of the United States of America said that to an audience at the Republican Jewish Coalition. Who do you think is in attendance at a venue, an event like that? I'll tell you who's in attendance. An audience that breaks out into laughter after he says that. That tells you everything you need to know about the people in attendance at that event. And Lindsey Graham couldn't contain his lobster-headedness. Looked like he had been on a hard bender the night before, and he broke out into laughter with them. Because they all understood collectively who the right people were. The same people that you and I for the last 2 years have witnessed in live time be mass displaced, lose their homes, lose their schools, lose their hospitals, lose their neighborhoods, lose their neighbors, lose their children, lose their teachers, lose their family lineage, lose everyone that has ever fucking existed in their family ever. You and me have watched that take place over the last 2 years. Those are the right people, according to a sitting senator of this country. Where is the censoring of Lindsey Graham? You won't see it. But you know what you will see? The feckless Democrats censor their own colleague for interrupting Donald Trump and trying to bring articles of impeachment months ago. They'll censor Representative Al Green, not Lindsey Graham. Everybody knows who the right people are. Nobody in the Republican Party gives a fuck that Lindsey Graham nonchalantly talks about killing the right people, because they think that way too. Shameful. And the most amazing thing to me is all these people, especially on the right, who are so outraged about Zohran Mamdani winning the mayoral race of New York. A Democratic socialist. He's going to destroy New York. Meanwhile, Lindsey Slug Graham jokes and laughs with people in attendance at an event about killing the right people that includes children. Tens of thousands of children. Babies who you and I, as just American citizens, had the disprivilege of witnessing them take their last breath or their last movement in an incubator. Do you remember that? You've seen, I've seen, babies in utero never witness the flash of light when they take their first breath. Why? Oh, because they're the right people, according to that slug of a human being. And you think he's going to get censored? Do you think anything at all is going to happen to him? No. And he's pleased with the way the Republican Party is progressing. He even said Donald Trump's his favorite president. The man in the past who had nothing nice to say about Donald Trump is now the skin tag on his left thigh. Because that's what Lindsey Graham is. He's a skin tag. He's a slug. To say that about human beings, are these going to be the right people, Lindsey? Are these people going to be put into the right people group? Because make no mistake about it, if you think he cares about the people of this country when he says despicable things about the right people in another part of the world who for the last 2 years have been mass displaced, forced into famine, unknowingly consuming flour laced with oxycodone, coming through U.S. fucking ports. If you think he cares about the people of this country when he references human beings, children, babies, the way he did, and then laughs about it, these people don't care about anybody but themselves. They are not capable of caring. They are not neurologically wired to be empathetic or sympathetic. Someone who was aligned with them, who left this world 2 months ago, thought empathy was a weakness. And you don't think people like Lindsey Graham think that? He doesn't have to say it's a weakness. He says it by saying that the right people are being killed. And by the way, you're getting your taxes cut.
So Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are on Fox News here, and they are coping and seething at the fact that there are a bunch of right-wingers now who are anti-Israel, who are Israel skeptical, to say the least. I didn't say Hamas, right? But usually you're an anti-Semite, you're Hamas, or now they're going with these right-wingers are, quote, Marxist Islamists. Really? Really? We're supposed to believe there aren't even left-wingers who are Marxist Islamists, which, by the way, is kind of a contradiction in terms because Marxists are usually atheists, right? But there aren't even left-wingers who are Marxist Islamists. And now you're saying there are right-wingers who are Marxist Islam. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. No right-wingers say that. That is a purely left-wing view. And that view happens to be correct. Like, I love how Ben Shapiro looks at a system where the bottom 80% of Americans hold only 7% of the wealth, and he thinks that makes sense.
This is why I don't understand the attacks on Netanyahu and the IDF. We're fighting this enemy and trying to destroy them. In fact, let's be honest. They're the only ones fighting them and trying to destroy them while we give them weapons. They're the only ones shedding blood trying to destroy this enemy at the heart of where they are in the Middle East and now New York.
For 6 months, I've been fighting these bastards, whether it's Tucker Carlson or whether it's Nick Fuentes. What do you mean we don't cancel people? We canceled David Duke. We canceled pornography on TV. We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system.
That was Mark Levin openly admitting that he would like to cancel and deplatform Israel critics like Tucker Carlson this past weekend at the Republican Jewish Coalition's Leadership Summit. There's more of this ongoing war within the Republican Party, where that came from. But first, Jank, what are your 2 cents here?
First of all, I appreciate the confession. We cancel people all the time. And here I am in the middle of doing cancel culture, which makes sense because Israel is the king of cancel culture. But he said we should cancel all Jew haters, whatever that means, and all America haters. So does that mean anyone criticizing America or its government? And does that include under Biden? These are important questions we got to suss out for what Mark Levin means. But as you're going to see here, the real question is, who's going to win this MAGA civil war? Because they're coming for Tucker, and I have a strong opinion on who's going to win.
Well, there were many speakers at the RJC summit who slammed Tucker Carlson, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Congressman Thomas Massie over their criticisms of Israel. Carlson's decision to platform Nick Fuentes also made him a target. In fact, Tucker was such a central theme of the weekend that attendees and even speakers carried these signs that read, "Tucker is not MAGA." Mark Levin harped on that allegation during his speech. Take a look.
You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism. You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
Representative Randy Fine also declared that Tucker is not MAGA during his speech, in part because Tucker criticized Trump's decision to bomb Iran. Later in his speech, Mark Levin, who is literally a radio show host, mocked people like Tucker for thinking their podcasts and radio shows could make a difference in the world. Take a look.
These aren't powerful people. Seriously? These aren't intelligent people. These are lowlives that have platforms. And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
Jake, that one got me because that's literally Mark Levin's entire career. It's radio shows, TV shows, subscriptions, all of it.
No, but I know exactly what he's referring to. He's saying we have mainstream media, and you have your little podcast and your little TV show and your subscription service. We do, by the way. Hit the join button below just to piss off Mark Levin. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, everyone else, tyt.com/join and say, this is for you, Mark. #suck it. Okay, so he's like, what? We bought CBS, we bought TikTok. Okay, we already had a CNN reporting through Jerusalem. Okay, they all have to clear their stories. We have the lady at Meta who confessed, we showed it to you last week. Yeah, we censor all the stories on behalf of Israel. And if you're gonna criticize Zionism, we're gonna cancel you from Meta. We have all the big players. Now here comes a little podcast. The average American. Well, you're not gonna make it. The powerful are gonna crush you. That's what he just said. It's amazing. And I love that little thing about, like you're not smart. Mark, you think it's smart to announce publicly that you're canceling all Americans who would disagree with Israel? And that you're bragging about how you own all the major media and it's us little pipsqueaks, and that you're gonna crush us one by one with the mega powerful people on your side. He said, these aren't powerful people. Well, on that one, Mark, you're right. I'm not that powerful. Tucker by himself is not that powerful, or Dylan, or Rogan, or Theo Vaughn, or Andrew Schultz, or Charlemagne, or any of these guys. Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald. Why we go on and on. Crystal Ball. No, none of us by ourselves are that powerful. Rando on social media, who's fighting for America first, or any just sanity. American sovereignty. Wouldn't that be amazing for America to be free from sea to shining sea? Yeah, you're right. We're not at all powerful like you and your giant donors and the giant owners of these companies that are pro-Israel. But my guess is United were more powerful than you. And I know uniting is the hardest thing in the world. Why do you think Mark Levin and Daily Wire and all those guys start endless culture wars? To divide you. Why do you think they're constantly doing propaganda against Muslims and honestly about trans people and this? Where did all the trans stuff come from? Daily Wire, okay? So constantly putting out culture war stuff because they know we can't resist. The left and the right can't resist. Then we're at each other's throats and they're laughing their ass off. But now it appears, Jordan, that Mark is not laughing his ass off. All of a sudden, he's a little bit worried about our collective power. And they're starting to worry, oh my God, what if the left and the right unite on behalf of America? Then our Israel First agenda is in trouble. Well, Mark, you're goddamn right it is. And I love that it is. And I'm sick of you and your disgusting friends running our media, running our politics. Yeah, I'm saying it. And it's not Jewish Americans. It's pro-Israel radicals who think, screw this country. This country, I mean, the overwhelming majority of Jewish Americans love this country, love the opportunities, the hopes, the dreams, etc., that America has helped them realize. But a small group of pro-Israel radicals are like, no, everyone has to serve Israel. Right? I mean, look at this nonsense garbage he puts out there. These people who are anti-America, anti-Israel, anti-West. No, you made that up. That's a propaganda point. America and Israel are two different countries. They obviously have different agendas, different priorities. And by you putting it in there and putting the West in there, guys, it's such an old trick. You know that, right? Like, oh, you have to give all of your money to Israel. You have to support all their wars. By the way, sometimes you have to fight their wars. And you have to make sure that they could do a genocide. You owe them. You owe them everything. Why? Because Israel is the West. Israel is America. No, Israel is not America. It's not the West. It's Israel. Any other country saying Turkey's the West, Turkey's America, France is America, France is the West. Like France is the West at least makes a tiny bit of modicum of sense, right? Israel being the West doesn't even make any sense. They're just making crap up. It's called Hasbara. It's propaganda that the Israelis have been doing here, honestly, for decade after decade, and they never got caught with nonsense talking points like Israel is a special ally. Whenever you ask them, what does that mean? Literally no one has an answer. Judeo-Christian heritage of the Bible and the Schofield thing and the blah 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 and West Magna Carta. What? No, the guys like Mark Levin have been controlling our government for a long, long time. But guys, America, I got great news for you. For the first time, they're worried that they are losing control. And I'm here for it. And I love it. And I love to see Mark Levin in a cold sweat panic. We're gonna cancel them all and their stupid podcast. And we're gonna get mainstream media to be back in charge. And they're gonna give me a show on Fox News even though no one likes me. And and on the radio where no one can even listen to me. Because yes, Israel's gonna be in charge. Too bad, Mark, too bad. You're caught. We caught you. And now the rest of your life is going to be devolving into disdainful mediocrity. We're all gonna look at you as the pathetic mouthpiece for a foreign government who's trying to rob us blind. And we're gonna hate you for it. Mark, good news, we already hate you for it. But also good news, I'm on the left. Ultimately, I will protect everyone, okay? I don't want any violence, I don't want anything physical that will only destroy this movement. Do not help Mark Levin and the others. Never do anything physical and never make it about Jewish Americans. But for all the people who say that Israel is the equivalent of America and we need to all serve Israel if we love America, my ass we do. And I got a lot more where that came from, but give me more, Jordan.
Yeah, I think what's really happening here is they are threatened. The power centers, the establishment media, the pro-Israel media figures, they are worried about a democratized media landscape. And they can try to control what people watch. They could try to get shows canceled. But at the end of the day, there's going to be viewer backlash. All you're doing is showing that people have no reason to tune in to your show. So it's going to blow up in their face, and I can't wait for it. But one person who doesn't seem to recognize that is Ben Shapiro, who also got in on this campaign to take Tucker down. In fact, today he devoted his entire show to it, titled Tucker Carlson Sabotages America. He began it with an accurate characterization of Nick Fuentes as an anti-Semitic, sexist bigot, but then pivoted the bulk of his ire towards Carlson and what he called the fragmentation of the political right. Take a look.
That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. But most of all, Tucker Carlson acts as an ideological launderer for other people's evils. Tucker Carlson says many inflammatory things, always buying back just enough of it to appear as though he's not saying what he's clearly saying. He'll ask a series of wildly obsequious questions to Nick Fuentes. He'll even let Nick Fuentes' support for Joseph Stalin slide. But he will grill Ted Cruz about the population of Iran.
You know, I'm curious what you think, Cenk, but you get a little bit more, but some points I think were valid there. But he says his concern that Tucker is ruining the Republican Party by laundering the ideas of hateful, undemocratic people. But he also made it clear that one of his biggest gripes is, unsurprisingly, Tucker and his guests' criticism of Israel. He condemned Tucker Carlson for having Israel critics like economist Jeffrey Sachs on. He falsely characterized guests like Sachs as pro-Hamas. He also said Tucker Carlson has spent more time talking about Jews and Israel since Charlie Kirk's death than about the trans-Tifa ideology that motivated Charlie Kirk's killer. What do you make of what Ben Shapiro had to say in that clip?
Yeah, so first of all, fair show in America. So I agree with you. Was Tucker tougher on Ted Cruz? Yeah, he was, okay. So fair is fair, right is right. Second of all, I loved that he destroyed Ted Cruz. But they are all like glossing over the fact that Tucker did make a defense of Jewish Americans and a case against anti-Semitism, and he made a Christian case against anti-Semitism. So you can say, hey, he's winking and nodding. Although it is a strange way to wink and nod by saying all good Christians would not be anti-Semitic. Is that a wink and a nod? That just feels like he just said the right thing. Okay, you could say, all right, but on other parts, he didn't challenge him enough. And all that World War II revisionism drives me crazy, right? So I got no need for that. I got no need for the anti-Semitism, et cetera. And they're counterproductive, I get it. But at the end of the day, okay, let's go to the core issue, because this isn't really about anti-Semitism. That's just a way they get to shut you up about Israel, right? If they, like, are they actually worried about anti-Semitism? I think real Jewish people are, right? And I think that they're told nonstop, the world hates you, the world hates you, they're all about to kill you, they're all about to kill you. Oh, that's it, they hate you, he said that they hate you, right? And I think it's really counterproductive, but I get it. And by the way, they were killed a lot throughout history, so I totally get it, right? But that's not why Tucker is going on the warpath. That's certainly not why we're going on the warpath. Why are people talking about Israel so much? Instead of trans-Tifa or whatever nonsense that Ben Shapiro made up a minute ago, right? Well, first of all, what did I tell you earlier in the show? What do they want to do? Like, it reintroduced the culture wars. Remember, people hate trans people, hate each other through that war. That way you're divided and we can easily conquer you. And oh, by the way, Muslims, hating Muslims is a twofer, right? One, you get divided on that. And two, that way when we kill them, you go, oh, here's more money to kill them, Israel. Oh, I love when you hate Muslims. And what's hilarious is I saw his spiel about like, we're against all sorts of hate. We're against hate against black people and women and Hindus. And you wanna know the one group he didn't mention? Muslims. Because they're the ones who drive all the hatred towards Muslims, right? So he's like, please get back to being distracted. Here, squirrel. Hey, you can throw all the squirrels you want, Ben. Nobody's getting distracted. The reason why Israel's so important is I care about the genocide, and I think a lot of good moral people care about the genocide. And so many young Jewish Americans care so deeply about stopping the genocide. And if there's anything to worry about and to be animated by, it's a genocide in our time that we're paying for, right? But that's actually, at this point, the number 2 issue. The number 1 issue is American sovereignty, because people have woken up. You can't make them go back to sleep. They see that AIPAC and the Israeli lobby has contributed to 90% of Congress. And that 90% of Congress votes with Israel 100% of the time. 99 Israeli lobby. There's nothing you could do to undo that. We all know it now. And we see the mainstream media covering that up day in, day out, day in, day out. No. The Israeli lobby has no influence at all. 90% of Congress, they love Israel. They just happen to get millions of dollars, but that doesn't affect them at all. It's just their huge love for our special ally. And if you question that, you're an anti-Semite and your life should be ruined and you should never be allowed in media. When mainstream media does that now, we're like, bro, we know the trick, right? You know we're onto you, right? And they don't know it at all. They're just still sitting there going, cancel all Americans who dare to oppose Israel. Brother, it ain't gonna work. But I don't know, Jordan, maybe it will work. As I watched it, I thought, Mark and his friends have literally billions of dollars. The pro-Israel radicals have an unbelievable amount of money. So they could buy almost all the media companies. And then when you say, but you bought, like Larry Ellison, the biggest contributor to the IDF, like he gives money to the IDF to murder Palestinians as charity. Like, oh, you haven't killed enough Arabs and Muslims there. Here, I will charitably give you money. And then he buys TikTok to make sure that he puts the Israeli censors into TikTok. And then they say, but you're not allowed to report that. But that's actually more control of the media. So no, this is the cat's out of the bag. And they're trying to desperately get that cat and kill it. But it ain't gonna work.
I mean, I think what Shapiro said, some of it resonated with me, that the way Tucker will or will not push back on different subjects, on different topics, is something that we should be concerned about. But you and I had this debate last week. If people are interested in how we feel about Tucker and Nick Fuentes and that conversation, you can go back on YouTube and look at it. But on this effort to control the media, I think it's going to backfire, because you can buy up outlets and you can buy up platforms, but new things will always emerge. They'll always pop up. You compared it to whack-a-mole earlier. It's a wasted effort, because you can't control audience behavior. I mean, that has been a frustrating point for the left on YouTube for years. Other than this network and the shows affiliated with it, there really hasn't been much. And you're starting to see things start to pop up, like Midas Touch. You have Brian Tyler Cohen, you have Jack Concherella. Now suddenly these people are popping up. But you can't control people as much as the Democrats want. No, go back to MSNBC. That's dying. The viewership is declining. The right is now experiencing the same problem. People are turning off Fox News, they're turning off OAN and Newsmax, and they're going more to independent creators that they feel like they can trust more. So what you're seeing is this kind of like last desperate attempt by people like Ben Shapiro, who has been funded by fracking billionaires for years, by Mark Levin, who's been associated with Fox News for years. No, stay with us, stay with the powerful, stay with the elite. You could trust us, do anything but turn to independent voices, independent creators. It's a problem throughout the media and creator landscape. It's not one that they're going to solve by shunning people that they disagree with. And I appreciate you pointing out the one thing that I think we all need to focus on here when they're saying, oh, stop paying attention to Israel. Remember trans people. Why isn't he talking about trans Tifa? All of those debates are there to distract you. And it's not just on this issue, it's on every issue. And Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire were created almost exclusively for that reason, because they don't want you to think about things like climate change, by the rigging of our economy, all of these things that are to your detriment, that the political elite and especially the Republican Party are responsible for. So what does the Daily Wire do? Movie reviews, trans investigations, demonizing minorities, immigrants. How many godforsaken Disney movie videos has that outlet put out on YouTube? Oh, the new Disney movie's woke. Oh my God, there's a same-sex couple in Buzz Lightyear. Oh, the Barbie movie's too woke. How does that affect your life? How does that affect your ability to pay your bills. And Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, all of those freaks on the Daily Wire will never talk about those issues in a way that is positive and impacts you, because they want you to be distracted and be distrustful of media outlets or marginalized communities in this country, because that's what their ultimate role is.
Yeah, last couple of things here. We got a poll up on tyt.com. Who is going to win the MAGA civil war? A, Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. B, Tucker Carlson, okay? So look, guys, I know some of the things that are gonna happen, but at the end of the day, I don't know who's gonna win. There's not enough evidence yet, okay? So here's what I mean by that. They say Tucker is not MAGA. This effort to paint Tucker Carlson as an Islamic radical, it's not gonna work, okay? The idea that Tucker Carlson's some secret Islamist or terrorist or Marxist is beyond preposterous, and no one's gonna believe that. In fact, they're kind of, again, overplaying their hands. The Hezbollah is so heavy, so, over the top, that people are like, really? Tucker's a Marxist? That's your new talking point? Brother, go back to your old talking points. That's because this is getting dumber and dumber as we go, right? So no, I don't think they're gonna be able to cancel Tucker and Candace. And by the way, now, all the independent podcasters, they haven't even gotten to them yet. Wait till they get a load of Tim Dillon, okay? And then they're gonna try to cancel him, and they're gonna try to cancel Megyn Kelly and Charlie. Okay, so, and finally, yeah, but what happens when the elites that Mark Levin is referring to and the establishment with their billions of dollars and almost all of the politicians and almost all of the media come down like a ton of bricks on the rest of us? Well, they're in the middle of doing it now, so we're gonna find out. I don't know who wins at the end, the people or the elites, but this is the actual political, not physical, but this is the actual political civil war to end all other political civil wars of my lifetime. Because this isn't just about MAGA. This is about all of us, right, center, and left versus the elites. Honestly, this is the political war I've been waiting for 23 years while we've been doing the Young Turks. It's about time people realize almost all the politicians are crooks. And it's not just Israel. They serve big pharma, big oil, defense contractors, and every donor that buys our bought, corrupt politicians. Let's all get up, because we're gonna need all of us in order to defeat the Mark Levins of the world, okay? By the way, join the revolution. 8 o'clock Eastern, we're doing a show called The Revolution to teach people left, right, and center, and to do it together. We're crowdsourcing it, so we can show you how to get money out of politics. If we're united, we actually do have enough power to win. It's the uniting part that's hard. That's why they're constantly trying to divide us. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
I need the kind of loyalty where I could kill somebody and you would still vote for me. You know when Trump said, I could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any supporters? I need that kind of loyalty. I need that kind of ride or die loyalty, because I'm in a ride or die situation. You see how they try to fuck with me. So I need people that are just, we need to be as one. We need to be in unison.
Is Ben, Tucker, Megyn, Nick, Candace. I think Megyn can pull this off. I think Megyn could pull this off to bring this together. I think Megyn's a boss. She's tough, she's strong, and she's been around. The reason why I think she's the one that could pull it off is because she was the face. She killed it on Fox, crushed, and she's doing great with her podcast. So she has the mainstream and the podcast victory. I think Megyn could pull off something like this to bring everyone together. Because at this point of the game, Ben's loyalty, of course he's going to be loyal to Israel. That's what he is. He's very proud of his heritage. FYI, you ought to be proud of your heritage. I don't sit there, I'm like, well, when I say Daily Jewish Wire or Daily whatever I call the Israeli Wire, I do think that's his priority. I don't say that as in like an insult. No, I say, listen, I'm a Syrian Armenian. Okay? I'm a Syrian and Armenian. I'm a proud Assyrian, I'm a proud Armenian. But, born in Iran, made in America, without America, I don't have the life that I have today. Are you kidding me? But I understand some of the affinity. I understand if Nick goes after Tucker's dad, Tucker's going to invite him to say, hey, man, listen, this is one thing I don't like when you go after my dad. His dad's a hero. I understand Tucker, but I also understand Nick, who's on the outside, is like, you guys not going to give me attention? I'm going to effing come after you guys like a freaking gangster, and I'm going to pull up a Tupac, hit him up. I'm going to destroy all of you guys. That's Nick. Nick is Tupac. So what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to do East Coast, West Coast type of situation? Is that what you want? Really? Is that what you want? Because I think right now what Ben talked about is he's spending millions of dollars a year on security. Why? Who's creating it? Who's causing it? This isn't healthy. I don't, this isn't healthy. So for me, I love the debate. Keep the debate. I love all of that stuff. But
did you see what Megyn said about this?
No. What did she say?
She addressed this. She actually had Matt Walsh on her podcast. They spoke for a full-on hour.
And what was the consensus? What did they say?
So it was very interesting because she says, I'm friends with Ben Shapiro. I'm friends with Tucker Carlson.
She's the right person.
And then she's speaking with Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire. It was very interesting, his perspective. You know what he said?
Yeah.
About Ben, Israel, whatever. He goes, yeah, I don't care. I care about America. That's my opinion. That's been my position for 10 years. He goes, I don't care.
So then for
but
me.
But Megyn is, I think, someone that can pull this off.
I think Megyn is somebody that can pull this off because Megyn has Tucker's respect. That's why. Because Tucker respects the fact that Megyn made it on cable, TV, and made it at podcasting. And she's a formidable face. She was a moderator. Trump, hey, you've said a lot of different things about women. No, only Rosie O'Donnell. That's not true. That's not true. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think, if you go like this and the infighting continues, congratulations, you handed them 2026. And if it continues and you think, a person, how mentally, emotionally tough and a gangster you have to be to come back and win 2024 election. There's only one guy that could have pulled that off, and it's the guy that won, and he's the president today. You think that guarantees 2028?
No.
Hell no. No. So, welcome.
Yep.
And by the way, to Ben Shapiro's camp that this is probably going to be sent to, 8,000 people voted. 68% said he's the one that doesn't want to sit down with Tucker. And our audience is fairly fair, is what they are. So there you go. I don't know. Maybe
fairly fair.
No,
I just
think they're pretty fair. They're fairly fair. But Pat, great points. And you just it just hit me that what you're talking about this, the Mamdani effect and all that stuff. Republicans are all over the freaking map, and there's the way that you just said it. If they don't come to in any situation, the midterms are not blue. It's going to go to freaking Democrats. And then how fast is 2028 going to come? And Gavin Newsom just sitting at the top waiting for this shit.
Welcome to the White House, President Gavin Newsom.
He is doing it intentionally. I'm not saying that you scared me, but you just made me go, oh my God. They're all fighting because who are all those people going to tell you to vote for? Let's say the presidency comes up. One's going to tell you to go this way. Somebody's going to tell you to go this way. The one guy that's pro-Israel, they're going to say go this way. It's going to be so splintered, and sitting and waiting in the wings is Gavin Newsom going, hey,
course.
I love this is that they're all Hitler, they're all Nazis. Open the border, come on, guys, let's go back. That's not.
I agree with the point that the Republican Party and the conservative movement. I mean, never mind Republican Party, conservatism in America and the conservative movement does need unity. A week and a half ago before the election, who do we see doing photo ops together? AOC, Bernie, and Chuck, right?
Yep.
Walking down the street, and wasn't there the three of them walking down the street in Chuck shirt sleeves, people of the people, like this? Why do you think Chuck agrees with Bernie? No,
absolutely
they're mortal
not.
enemies. Chuck undermined Bernie so much in 16 and 20.
Yep.
Absolutely did. And so do you think AOC and Chuck are friends? No,
I don't.
There's been people saying that she's going to primary
She's
him
gonna
and
get
she's
him out.
going after the next level seat if she doesn't run. And then do you see that AOC and Bernie are perfectly aligned? No,
Nope.
She's too much of a lightning rod on the outside. He's actually stayed where he is. But why are they all walking together, talking nice together? Because they know what unity was needed, and their enemy was the loss they took last November. And so the conservatives need unity. We don't need MTG running for president over here like Ross Perot. We don't need this divisiveness that's here. I agree with that point, that we need unity and someone needs to do it. And, Pat talking about that maybe Megyn could step it up. I think there's other people that could do it too, but we got to get people together on the core things.
Yeah, we're
Make the
outsiders.
core
Let me
things
tell you
the
what
core
I've learned.
things.
Let me tell you what I've learned at this point. We're outsiders, and I love it. You have no idea how much I love it. That none of them are like, who are these guys? The same way Ben feels about us is the same way Tucker feels about us. But the difference is, by the way, both of them have had me on. I've had Ben on the show 11 years ago. Never had Tucker on. But both sides are like, who are these guys? And I love it. I'm comfortable to this role. We're not trying to sit here and, when I was coming up in insurance, it's the same exact story every single time. Who the F is this Middle Eastern guy with no college degree coming up taking market share away from us? Who are you? Every year we'd go to the insurance conference. It was like this. Who are you? Oh, my God. Get out of here. Get out of here. And then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, shoot. No, we actually love the industry, and we actually respect you guys. We respect the hell out of you guys that you guys built a business. We admire what you've done. We admire a lot of these guys, what they've done over the years, but we have our own set of opinions. And we're fair, we're respectful, but at the same time, to me, it's very simple. If I don't have a relationship with them ever for the rest of my life, I'm okay as long as America is winning.
Yep.
If that's the role we're going to play, we're going to continue playing that role. We're not somebody that's going to sit there and be like, come on, we're going to do this. Nope. We've had plenty of great experiences, and we have very good relationship with a lot of people. I also understand the fact that for some people, they're more uncomfortable. Why? 1 minute they're here, 1 minute they're there. They'll call this person up, but they'll call that person up. They'll have Netanyahu, but they'll have Nick Fuentes. Yeah, we will talk to everybody. Period. And I know you're not going to like it. And I'm okay with it. I made a video the other day with the idea that I'm talking about. I think they need to do XYZ with, I think Israel has a bad brand right now because of how horrible of a job they're doing marketing as the only child. Mm-hmm. And I said, trust me, no one's going to like my idea on both sides. And guess who hated the idea? Both sides hated the idea, right? And guess what? I like that both of you don't like the idea. We will gladly play in this role of just going up here, gladly, and continue to do our part. But God willing, Megyn Kelly's going to make that phone call and host an event and have everybody there. I think she can play the role of a glue, and there's a handful of other guys I would nominate that can pull that off, but I think she's the head that can pull that off. I really think she's the head that can pull that off and get everybody in there. And by the way, bring Steven Crowder. He's coming back, and I like the new Crowder.
Yep.
Bring him back. He's back to realizing who he is and what he was doing. Let's not forget, at one point, Crowder was the guy, and a lot of people remember when he was the guy, and he went through a bad season. But I'm kind of glad that he's got his mojo back, and he's playing ball. He's a very, very formidable voice.
He's a beast.
So I would include him in that as well.
For sure.
And but anyways.
He's criticized all those guys too, by the way.
Listen, just think about us as a consultant. That's who we are. We're just a consultant, is what we do. You can go to beddavid.com, literally, to learn more about what we do for clients from 60-plus countries, 10,000 businesses, a business nobody knows that we have except for the people that we do engagements for and strategy sessions for.